Woman was God's second mistake. A line from Nietzsche that hits like a blow to the chest. It doesn't just provoke, it fractures. One sentence, a stone hurled into the still waters of modern thought. Shocking, infuriating, a flash of unapologetic misogyny. But long before Nietzsche hurled such a brutal judgment, his mentor had already laid the philosophical groundwork. A man who dared to look directly into the abyss of existence. A man whose gaze never flinched. That man was Arthur Schopenhauer. Welcome to your inner mirror. Today, we step into one of our most unsettling and necessary journeys. We delve deep into the mind of one of philosophy's darkest, sharpest, and most unforgiving thinkers. Our focus, his infamous views on women. Let me be upfront, this won't be easy to digest. Schopenhauer's words aren't gentle. They're sharp, icy, and in many ways deeply offensive. He has been called a misogynist, and maybe he was. But here, we don't settle for labels. Like all real philosophy, we ask deeper questions. What did he mean? Why did he say it? Could it be that buried beneath his bitterness lies a truth too uncomfortable for polite society, one we label hateful just to avoid facing? This isn't about defending Schopenhauer. It's about something far more difficult, understanding him. Examining his worldview not as emotional outbursts, but as the deliberate analysis of someone who believed he saw the root disease of human life. And to grasp it, we must look inward too, and ask, do his harshest words echo feelings we've buried? 2. Understand why Schopenhauer said what he did about women. We first have to understand his entire philosophy. He didn't see the universe as divine, orderly, or even sane. No, for Schopenhauer, the world is ruled by a blind, relentless force. A force without logic, without mercy, without end. A force that only craves to continue, to multiply, to exist. He called it the will to live. Everything we know, people, animals, trees, clouds, is just the visible mask of this hidden will. And we're not free, not really. We think we choose, but we don't. Our passions, our plans, even our noblest dreams are all tools of this will. According to Schopenhauer, the will has one obsession: survival. Keep life going, no matter the cost. And what is life, he asks? An endless loop of suffering. He famously said, life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. When we want something, we suffer for it. When we get it, the joy is brief. And we soon feel empty. Then we crave again. We're like beggars who get a warm meal, only to go hungry the next day. Happiness? A mirage, a flash of joy in a vast desert of pain. And from this bleak vision, Schopenhauer casts his eyes on humanity. There, he makes a sharp and troubling claim. Men and women are not equal versions of the same being. They are, he says, fundamentally different tools used by the will. In his essay on women, Schopenhauer makes claims that still sting today. He argues that women are less logical, more emotionally reactive, lack a deep sense of justice, and are more inclined toward deception. Yes, these ideas are offensive. But in his system, they're not insults. They are logical outcomes of his metaphysics. To him, woman is the most perfect instrument of the will. Her entire being, he says, is shaped by nature for one purpose: to carry life forward. So when he says a woman lives in the present, he doesn't mean she's shallow. He means she's designed by nature to anchor life in the here and now. Her strength lies in her instincts. She is built not for abstract truths, but for survival. For caring, for nurturing, for continuity. Her mind, Schopenhauer believed, is attuned to the real world, to keeping herself and her offspring safe. She doesn't chase ideas. She chases security. Not because she is lesser, but because her role is different. And that role is not her choice. It's her design. Contrast this with the man. Schopenhauer sees man as a strange deviation, while a woman serves the will completely. A man alone can rebel. A man can suffer for an idea. He can sacrifice himself for something that won't help him survive at all. He might go to war for honor. He might spend his life building something he'll never see finished. He might starve in pursuit of art or mathematics or music. In these moments, Schopenhauer believes, man turns against the will. He defies it. He chooses something higher. To him, this is man at his most sacred, when he betrays nature in the name of something eternal. This, Schopenhauer believes, is why the female represents life's affirmation, while the male holds the rare power to say no to life itself. This worldview grows even more severe when Schopenhauer shifts his attention to love. Romantic love, he says, is nature's most cunning illusion. A masterful deception was spun by the will to ensure its goal of reproduction. In his essay, The Metaphysics of Sexual Love, Schopenhauer argues that when a man falls in love, he isn't choosing from his freedom. He is being chosen, used by the species. All the romantic drama, all the poetry, the idea of soulmates and destiny, it's a mask. A beautifully choreographed act performed by biology. Behind it all is a single raw agenda: reproduction. Nothing more. A man is magnetically drawn to youth, beauty, and symmetry, not because he appreciates art or aesthetics, but because these traits signal fertility and health. And the woman? She seeks strength, intellect, and security. Not out of calculation, but instinct. These are the traits of a man who can protect and provide. Love, Schopenhauer says, is the bait. Sex is the hook. And reproduction is the gold dot. And once the goal is achieved, once the will gets what it came for, the passion dies. The mask drops, the fire cools. What felt divine suddenly becomes mundane. This, Schopenhauer says, is why many men feel something shift after the chase ends. Love becomes routine. Passion fades. And something transactional takes its place. It's here that his ideas become especially brutal, and, to some, disturbingly familiar. He claims that women, even if only by instinct, understand their power lies in the desire they provoke. And they wield that power with precision. Charm, flirtation, tenderness, vulnerability, these are not just social tools. They are biological weapons. Schopenhauer writes that a woman who marries for love is, in reality, securing a lifelong contract of protection and provision, while the man who marries for love is giving his life over to the will, blind to the trap. Shocking, without question. But before we rage against him, it's worth pausing. Have we not seen elements of this dynamic in life? Have we not witnessed men with great potential change course, give up dreams, surrender time and energy, all for love that once felt irresistible? And haven't we noticed how, after marriage or children, the romance gives way to structure, survival, and order? Schopenhauer isn't inventing this dynamic. He's naming it, giving it a philosophy. He paints love not as salvation, but as a beautiful trap, a fragrant lure into duty, sacrifice, and repetition. It's bleak, yes. But to understand him fully, we must go deeper, because philosophy, no matter how abstract, is never divorced from the philosopher. To understand the theory, we must understand the man, and Schopenhauer's pain didn't begin in books. It began with a woman, his mother. To understand Schopenhauer's deep skepticism toward women, we must turn to the woman who shaped him most profoundly, his mother, Johanna Schopenhauer. Johanna wasn't a conventional woman of her time. She was brilliant, socially revered, and a successful novelist. After her husband's probable suicide, she moved to Weimar, hosting one of the most influential literary salons in Germany. Independent, witty, sophisticated, but to Arthur, she was cold, distant, emotionally closed off. Their relationship? A battlefield. She thought him gloomy, arrogant, and antisocial. He saw her as vain, performative, and shallow. Their letters read like dueling manifestos of resentment. No warmth. Only accusations. When Schopenhauer wrote that women are narcissistic, incapable of objective thought, and absorbed in the personal, it wasn't just abstract theory. It was the wounded cry of a son starved for his mother's love. His misogyny wasn't born in philosophy. It was born in childhood. In rejection, in longing unmet. What began as a personal wound hardened into a global judgment. What he couldn't heal, he tried to explain, not just about her, but about all women. This doesn't excuse him, but it reveals the raw human behind the philosophy. A man not merely hateful, but haunted. And that haunting leads to one of his most chilling ideas. Schopenhauer didn't just dislike women. On some level, he feared them. To him, women embodied the very thing he loathed, the will, not through brute force, but through seduction. Through beauty. Through desire, a man might build a fortress of reason. He might discipline himself, pursue truth, and sacrifice for ideals. He might seek to transcend his animal nature, but then, a woman appears, radiant, alluring, the promise of pleasure and connection. And suddenly, the fortress crumbles. The philosopher becomes a beast again. In Schopenhauer's view, female power isn't loud. It's silent, it's not coercion, it's an attraction. The ability to make a man give up everything, his mission, his clarity, his purpose for the illusion of union. She is, to him, the smiling gatekeeper of the biological prison. And he, the man trying to escape, sees in her the strongest guard. And here, despite the harshness, something eerily real emerges. A warning not bound by time. Look around, he says. This isn't 19th century paranoia. This is a tragedy played out daily. A man with a mission, a sense of direction, is pulled off course. His life begins to orbit someone else. Not as a partner, but as a purpose. His goals fade. Look around, he says. This isn't 19th century paranoia. This is a tragedy played out daily. A man with a mission, a sense of direction, is pulled off course. His life begins to orbit someone else. Not as a partner, but as a purpose. His goals fade. His passions dim. He sacrifices it all at the altar of love. And in that sacrifice, he loses the very essence that once made him attractive, his independence, his edge, his masculine direction. And then the cruel twist. The woman he idolized begins to lose respect for him. Not because she's cruel, but because something deep inside knows a man without his center cannot be trusted to lead. So the love he gave everything for begins to die. Schopenhauer's point? Not that love is evil, but that is when a man loses his center. Love consumes rather than completes him. This is Schopenhauer's brutal truth. The danger isn't the woman herself, it's what she represents. The pull of the will. The soft voice that whispers, give in, let go, surrender to life. And if you do, he warns, you risk everything. Because once you trade your mission for passion, your direction for desire, you don't just lose purpose. You lose your identity. You become orbiting, uncertain, and dependent. And paradoxically, the love you hope to secure begins to decay. A woman cannot deeply respect a man who abandons himself. And this is not just Schopenhauer's theory, it's a pattern we see again and again. The man who made her heart race becomes the man she no longer trusts to lead. The strength that once attracted her dissolves into hesitation. This is the tragedy Schopenhauer tries to name. Not as an attack, but as a warning. And yet, to stop here would be shallow. To truly understand his philosophy, we have to go further. Because behind all the bitterness, all the pain, lies something profound, the possibility of freedom. You see, Schopenhauer didn't believe we could escape the will completely. But he did believe we could resist it. In rare moments, through art, through asceticism, through deep philosophical clarity, we could transcend our animal programming. And here, something beautiful begins to emerge. He believed that man, at his best, is capable of saying no to instinct. Not in hatred of life, but in mastery of it. The goal is not repression, but sovereignty. This means seeing love. Seeing desire for what it is, not evil, but not sacred either, a force of nature. Powerful, dangerous, and if unchecked, destructive. Schopenhauer asks us to do something radical. To pause in our most emotional moments and ask, is this truly my choice? Or is something ancient and impersonal speaking through me? Is this love, or is this the will in disguise? This doesn't mean rejecting love. It means entering it with eyes open. The wise man doesn't deny his nature. He studies it. He respects it. But he does not serve it blindly. He keeps his mission at the center. He moves through the world with direction. And if he chooses to love, he does so as a whole man. Not from emptiness, but from fullness. He does not orbit. He invites. He doesn't abandon himself. He expands himself to include her. This kind of love isn't slavery to biology. It's a partnership between sovereign beings. This is what Schopenhauer points toward, even if his tone is harsh. The possibility of a man so rooted, so clear, so awake, that he can walk through life's most seductive illusions without being devoured by them. Not cold, not bitter, just free. Schopenhauer's ideas are a bitter tonic. Harsh, unforgiving. But sometimes, bitter medicine heals the deepest wounds. His philosophy forces us to confront the possibility that even our most sacred emotions might be masks, clever disguises, worn by something deeper and older than we can easily admit. He challenges us to ask hard questions, to step back from our instincts, to not confuse desire with destiny. And in doing so, he offers a strange kind of liberation, not the freedom to do whatever we feel, but the freedom to see clearly, soberly what we are, because in every man, there are two forces. One is the animal, the programmed will, the craving to mate, to conquer, to survive. The other is the individual, the seeker of meaning, the builder of legacy, the lover of truth. The first pulls us toward pleasure. The second lifts us toward purpose. Schopenhauer's lesson is not to deny the animal, but to master it. To honor it without bowing to it. To know your instincts intimately, but to never hand them the wheel. A man who lives from fullness, not need, can love in a way that expands both himself and his partner. He doesn't orbit her. He invites her into his orbit. His life remains centered, his mission intact. This kind of love is not a trap. It is a conscious alliance. And in that space, something sacred can be born, not dictated by biology, but built through choice. So no, we don't have to accept Schopenhauer's conclusion that life is only suffering, and that denial is our only escape. But we can heed his warning. We can build inner strength so unshakable, a purpose so clear, that no wave of passion can knock us off course. If this reflection has challenged you, stirred something in you, then you've done something rare. You've dared to explore darkness in search of light. And if you've come this far, I commend you. Most don't, but don't stop here. Share your thoughts below with the care and depth this community is known for. Have you ever felt the tension between your purpose and the pull of love? Have you ever questioned whether your deepest feelings were truly your own? Your stories matter. They give shape to the philosophy. They bring it to life. And if you've made it to the end of this journey into Schopenhauer's mind, leave the word will in the comments. It will be our quiet signal, a recognition between seekers who dare to see the world without its usual veils. If this brought you value, support Inner Mirror by liking, subscribing, and sharing this conversation. It helps us keep peeling back the layers of these hard, necessary truths. And remember, this isn't about fearing women. It's about understanding nature. And more than that, mastering yourself. Until next time, hold your center.